In 1977, in the sleepy coastal town of Pacifica, California, a young police officer named Laura Monroe vanished into the night while on routine patrol. No distress call, no sign of struggle, just gone. For over a decade, whispers surrounded her disappearance. Some believed she cracked under pressure and ran off. Others suspected foul play but found no proof. The case faded, like so many others, buried beneath newer tragedies and forgotten memories. But on a fog-soaked morning in March 1990, the ocean gave up one of its secrets. Sergeant Jack Monroe, long retired from the force but never from the memory of his wife, was pouring his second cup of coffee when his police radio, still always on, crackled to life. Unit 23, this is dispatch. We have a 1054 at Devil's Slide. Fisherman reports a possible police vehicle at the base of the cliff. Immediate response requested. His hand froze in midair, the toast untouched. Devil's Slide. That jagged, treacherous stretch of Highway 1 where the ocean devoured the cliffs, inch by inch. The place where he'd stood countless times, staring down at the waves, wondering if she'd been taken by them. This wasn't just another call. Dispatch, this is Unit 23. Monroe responding. ETA 10 minutes. The mug clinked against the countertop, forgotten. He grabbed his weathered jacket and moved with purpose he hadn't felt in years. As he reversed out of his driveway, his radio came alive again. Detective Maria Estrada's voice cut through the static, taut with urgency. "Jack, it's Marie. I'm en route. Helicopter dispatched. Meet me at the northern lookout." "Copy. What are we dealing with?" "Fisherman says it's definitely a cruiser. Old model. Badly damaged." "Jack." Dispatch ran a cross-check. Only one patrol vehicle's unaccounted for in this region in the last 2 decades. She didn't have to say the name. It echoed in the silence. Laura. Jack's grip tightened around the steering wheel, his knuckles pale. 13 years. 13 agonizing years. And now, a possible answer, or a new nightmare. As the miles fell behind him, he replayed their last night. Her in uniform, sharp and proud, that forced smile when she promised to be careful. The way her perfume lingered on the pillow long after she was gone. The hollow space in their bed in his heart. The cliffside was already a blur of sirens and flashing lights when he arrived. Red and blue strobes painted the fog in eerie hues, like the opening scene of a horror film. Officers formed a quiet perimeter, all eyes drawn to the abyss below. Marie spotted him instantly. Her bun was tight as always, her stance unshaken, but her eyes betrayed a storm of emotion. "Jack," she said, voice steady but laced with sympathy. "Prepare yourself, the coroner's en route." He offered a curt nod and stepped past the barrier. The cliff edge was slick with mist, the salty wind biting at his face. Far below, tangled in jagged rocks and sea foam, lay the remains of a patrol car. Even from this distance, the rust spread across its body like rot. The roof had collapsed inward. Time and tide had waged war on it. And won. Above the din, the rhythmic thump of rotor blades signaled the arrival of the Coast Guard chopper. Jack watched transfixed as the rescue team prepared their rigging. Every movement was deliberate, choreographed. There was no room for error. One misstep could send the wreck and the truth plunging forever into the ocean's depths. The fisherman who'd made the call stood off to the side, weathered and worn, his overalls damp from the morning spray. "You found it?" Jack asked. The man nodded, visibly shaken. "I've fished these waters 30 years. That car wasn't there last week. Storm must have unearthed it from somewhere hidden. Sun hit that chrome bumper just right this morning, and I knew. I just knew." "You did the right thing," Marie said, joining them. Her voice was low, grateful. "Can you describe exactly what you saw?" As the fisherman recounted the moment he spotted the glint of metal among the rocks, Jack couldn't look away from the wreckage. The helicopter crew rappelled down, securing heavy cables to the vehicle's battered frame. The operation was methodical, every inch of movement loaded with tension. Then came the lift. "Basing now," the radio crackled. Silence gripped the crowd. Slowly, agonizingly, the rusted patrol car rose from the cliff's embrace. Water spilled from its shattered windows in heavy streams. Seaweed clung to its undercarriage like forgotten ghosts. Jack held his breath as it crested the cliff edge and was lowered onto the flattened ground beside them. Up close, it was worse than he'd feared. The 1975 Plymouth Fury, Laura's cruiser, was a twisted carcass of metal and silence. Time had not been kind. Entire panels were devoured by rust, and barnacles clung like battle scars from years hidden in darkness. The forensics team moved in quickly, snapping photos and donning gloves. Jack stayed back. Every muscle in his body screamed to run forward, to rip open the door, to know. But he waited. "License plate still partially legible," one of the techs called out. "Running it now." The wind howled over the cliffs. Jack felt the chill of 1977 wash over him, mingling with the salt air and the weight of everything that had been left unsaid for 13 long years. Marie gently placed a hand on Jack's shoulder, her touch steady, grounding. "You don't have to stay for this." Jack's voice was quiet, resolute. "Yes, I do." One of the techs at a nearby laptop looked up, his face a mask of professional gravity. "VIN matches. This is Officer Laura Monroe's patrol vehicle." The words struck Jack with the weight of a falling world. He had suspected it, felt it in his marrow the moment he'd heard the call, but knowing something and hearing it aloud, confirmed, were two vastly different things. For 13 long years he had lived in the void of not knowing. Had she run away? Was she taken? Had she simply chosen to disappear? Now, there was no room for maybes. Something terrible had happened that night. The lead forensic technician approached the driver's side door. "Opening now." He tugged on the handle, and with a groan of corroded metal, the door broke off in his hands, its hinges consumed by rust. Inside, the vehicle was a crypt. Shadows clung to every surface. The seats were reduced to skeletal coils of springs, and the dashboard had melted into a grotesque sculpture of corrosion. "No visible remains," the tech reported, peering inside. Jack exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Was it relief or disappointment? Perhaps both. Maybe he had wanted closure. Maybe he had feared it. As the forensic team swept through the car, objects began to emerge like relics of a forgotten life. A flashlight, its casing bloated from battery leakage. A citation book fused into a single mass of pulp and ink. Then, something harder. A glint beneath the driver's seat. A brass shell casing. "40 caliber, the tech announced. "Department issue." Moments later, another voice from the rear of the car. Blood, degraded but definitely blood, under the back seat. The trunk creaked open. Flashlight beams probed the interior. Significant traces of blood in the trunk. Then a commanding voice cut through the tension. "What the hell's going on here?" Richard Hensley, the department supervisor. He moved through the crime scene tape like he owned it, because in many ways he did. He'd been Laura's boss in '77. Time had rounded his frame, added silver to his hair, but his eyes remained sharp, his presence commanding. "Richard," Marie greeted coolly. "It's confirmed. It's Laura Monroe's vehicle." His face twitched through a flicker of reactions before settling into a mask of bureaucratic concern. Christ. After all this time, he turned to Jack. "You shouldn't be here." "I'm fine," Jack replied, voice steady. The forensic lead summarized. "Blood and brass. No dash cam recovered. Saltwater likely destroyed it, but we're calling this a probable crime scene. Hensley rubbed his jaw. Let's not jump to conclusions. The blood could belong to anyone. For all we know, Laura might have... He hesitated, chose his words. Been involved in something that went wrong. Shot someone, panicked, ditched the car. That's not Laura, Jack said, flatly. She wouldn't. 13 years is a long time, Jack. People aren't always who we think they are. Marie stepped between them, cutting the tension. We need DNA testing on the samples. It's new tech, pricey. Do it, Hensley said. This is a potential homicide. We spare no expense. He looked over the scene. Media's going to be all over this. We need a statement. As if summoned by the words, a news van crested the hill, then another, and another. Microphones and cameras filled the horizon. Before he could prepare, Jack found himself in front of a dozen lenses, questions slicing through the air like shrapnel. Sergeant Monroe, how does it feel to finally have answers about your wife's disappearance? Was Officer Monroe under investigation before she vanished? You believe she was murdered? Jack straightened, eyes fixed on the nearest camera. Officer Laura Monroe was a dedicated member of this department. She had just been promoted to patrol sergeant when she disappeared in 1977. She was hard-working, honest, committed to serving this community. We will pursue this investigation thoroughly and professionally. The ocean has finally surrendered part of the truth. We will not let it be in vain. More questions followed, but Marie guided him away, shielding him from the chaos. Behind them, the forensic team continued their painstaking work, cataloging every scrap of truth time had not erased. You did good, Marie said, walking him toward his vehicle. Go home. Take a breath. Hensley appeared again. She's right. You're too close. Take a few days. Let us do our jobs. I can work the case. No, you can't. Hensley's tone softened, but remained firm. Your judgment is compromised. That's not an insult. It's reality. Marie nodded. I'll handle this personally. I'll keep you updated. Every step. Jack looked between them, then at the crumpled patrol car. 13 years of silence, and now, something. A beginning. Or an end. I have the old case files at home. I'll go through them. Maybe we missed something. Fine, Hensley said. Just don't start playing detective. Marie walked with Jack to his car. I'll pull the records, duty rosters, logs, everything from 77. We'll figure this out. Jack paused at the door. Someone killed her, Marie. All these years, people said she ran away, but someone killed her. We don't know that yet. Blood in the trunk, a bullet casing. What else do we need? Marie's voice was gentle but firm. We follow the evidence. That's all we can do. Jack climbed into his car, the engine rumbling beneath him. In the rearview mirror, he saw the past clawed out of the ocean, surrounded by flashing lights. He drove home. The sun hung high over Pacifica by the time Jack pulled into his driveway. His house, a modest two-story, nestled among homes of cops, teachers, and worn-out souls, sat unchanged. He went straight to his office, didn't take off his jacket, didn't breathe. The box sat on a closet shelf, untouched since his last desperate search 5 years ago. Cardboard worn soft, labeled in thick black marker, L. Monroe, 1977. He pulled it down, sat on the floor, and opened the past. Inside, scattered like puzzle pieces, were fragments of Laura's final days. Her personnel file, a photo, Laura in uniform, bright-eyed, proud, her new sergeant stripes fresh on her arm. She had just turned 28, 2 weeks before she disappeared. Jack sorted through the logbook copies first. her handwriting neat and crisp. November 18th, 1977. 2,000 hours. Beggin Patrol, Sector 7. 2015 hours. Routine traffic stop. Highway 1, mile marker 42. Warning issued. And then nothing. No distress call, no backup request, no final word. He sifted through witness statements. Her partner that night, Officer Patricia Hurst, had noted nothing unusual, said Laura was in good spirits, wanted to finish early, catch a late movie. 2 civilian statements described seeing a patrol car that night, but neither could confirm who was inside. Just a uniform, just a ghost in the fog. Laura's case file was thin, frustratingly thin. Jack leaned against the wall of his office, eyes scanning the scattered pages on the floor. Something didn't add up. Laura wouldn't have driven her patrol car off Devil's Slide. The logistics alone made that theory crumble. No distress call, no evidence of personal intent, no plausible escape. Someone else had to be involved. His eyes landed on the duty roster. Officer Patricia Harris had been Laura's partner, but beneath her name, almost missed among the faded ink, was another. Deputy Carl Bowen, night shift supervisor. He had signed off on the logbook, affirming the night's entries as routine. Jack picked up his phone and dialed Marie's number. She answered on the second ring. "Jack, I'm almost back at the station. Richard's already there. The team's still processing the scene. I need to ask about Carl Bowen. He signed the logbook the night Laura disappeared. Bone, he transferred to San Mateo County about 8 years ago. Why? I want to talk to him. Can you pull his contact when you get in?" "Sure. You coming in?" "On my way." Jack repacked the documents and stood. The house, still and silent, pressed down around him like a tomb. He needed movement, purpose, but instead of heading to the station, he turned south onto Highway 1. 20 minutes later, he pulled over at mile marker 42, the site of Laura's last recorded stop. The wind whispered through dry scrub and bent the coastal grass toward the sea. The Pacific stretched out like a solemn witness, gray-blue and endless. To the east, the industrial skeletons of Moss Landing loomed, rusted warehouses and quiet docks. They'd searched here in 77, found nothing. Why had Laura been alone that night? Policy mandated paired patrols after dark, especially in isolated areas. Who had overridden that? The rumble of an engine broke his thoughts. A patrol car, black and white. It slowed, then pulled beside him. The window rolled down. "Jack Monroe? That you?" Carl Bowen. Time had added gray to his hair, but his build remained lean, his eyes sharp. He wore the San Mateo County Sheriff's badge like it was part of his skin. "Carl," Jack said. "Funny timing. I was just thinking about you." "Yeah, heard about this morning. They really found Laura's car?" "The Devil's Slide. I was just walking her old route." Carl nodded, slow and cautious. "Terrible thing. After all this time." He glanced at his watch. "Listen, Jack, I'd love to catch up, but I'm late for shift. Actually, I wanted to ask you about the logbook from that night. You signed it." Something flickered in Carl's eyes, subtle, but there. "That was 13 years ago, but yeah, I signed it. Everything was normal, like always." He shifted the car into gear. "Tell you what, let's grab coffee sometime. I'm on patrol near Valley Park today. Call the department." "I'll do that." Carl gave a tight wave and drove off. Jack watched the cruiser disappear around the bend. Back in his car, he flicked on the radio. His own voice greeted him, a replay of his morning interview. Officer Laura Monroe was a dedicated member of this department, promoted to patrol sergeant in 1977, hard-working, honest. The words echoed with new weight. A cold realization took shape. Laura, young, female, ambitious. in a department where old-school politics still whispered behind every closed door. Jack knew that culture, knew how some cops reacted when someone climbed the ranks too quickly, especially someone like Laura. He tried to shake the thought. These were people he'd trusted with his life. But the question wouldn't go away. Who had assigned Laura to that lonely patrol route? Jack pressed harder on the gas. At the Pacifica police station, the lot was quiet, shift change still an hour away. As Jack reached for the door handle, movement caught his eye. Richard Hensley, pacing beside the building, phone pressed to his ear. Even from 50 feet away, Jack could read his body, tight shoulders, jerky gestures, nerves. Then Richard's voice rose. Car came up. Your job? Move now. Jack froze, every instinct alert. He eased out of the car, door closing with a soft click. Richard turned and saw him. Surprise crossed his face, then something darker. He lowered his voice, muttered something, ended the call. Jack, he greeted, too brightly. Didn't expect to see you. I thought I told you to take some time. Jack walked up, his expression unreadable. Couldn't stay away. Was that about Laura's case? Oh, that, no. Just the evidence yard hassling me about the patrol car. EPA issues, apparently. Saltwater makes it hazardous. Need to move it to a secured facility. Bureaucracy, you know. He laughed, a sound that landed wrong. Had to light a fire under the transport team. Said, your job, move it, now, before we get county inspectors breathing down our necks. Jack nodded slowly. It made sense. On paper. Bureaucracy never sleeps. You're telling me. Richard wiped his forehead, despite the cold breeze. Come on, let's go in. Inside, the station buzzed with quiet motion. Phones, printers, chatter. The familiar hum of police life. Jack spotted Marie near the evidence room. She was deep in conversation with 2 forensic techs. Degraded samples are always problematic, one tech said. DNA extraction from material that's been underwater. It's going to take weeks, maybe months. Can we expedite it? Marie asked. Not without compromising results. The blood's there, but extracting enough clean DNA to confirm identity? That's the challenge. Jack's heart sank. Without DNA, they couldn't even prove Laura had been in the car when it went over. What about the shell casing? Marie pressed. That's more promising, another tech replied. .40 caliber. Department issue, 1977 spec, same grain weight. If Laura fired her weapon that night, this could be it. Jack closed his eyes. So many possibilities. Her blood, or someone else's, her gun, or planted evidence. The uncertainty gnawed at him. When he opened his eyes, Richard was walking away down the hall. Marie joined him. Sorry about that. Are you okay? I need to talk to Richard about Carl Bowen. I ran into him on Highway 1, right at Laura's old patrol route. Marie's brows rose. That's quite a coincidence. My thought exactly. Jack touched her shoulder. I'm going to catch Richard. We'll talk soon. I've got something to show you. He moved down the hall and knocked. It's Jack. Come in. Richard looked up from his desk. He hastily closed a drawer and tossed back what looked like pills with water. Blood pressure meds, he explained before Jack could ask. This case, it's getting to all of us. You meant what you said about taking time off. I tried. Couldn't do it. Jack stepped inside, closing the door behind him. Something unspoken hung in the air, tense and waiting to break. Richard slumped deeper into his chair, his complexion flushed and his breathing uneven. To ask you about Carl Bowen, Jack said, his voice steady but firm. Richard's expression tensed. What about him? I ran into him today, at Laura's old patrol route. He was the night supervisor. He signed off on the logbook the night she vanished. So? Someone had to sign it. Jack leaned forward. Something's been bothering me. If Laura had been attacked that night, she would have radioed it in. She was sharp, professional. There's nothing on the record after 8:15 p.m. Richard groaned, pressing his fingers into his temples. That's exactly why we assumed she left. No distress call, no report, no suspicious sightings. But it doesn't align with what we've found. Blood, a bullet casing. Richard snapped upright, his voice sharper than before. You're wasting time and manpower chasing shadows. Carl Bowen's a solid cop. You want to start tearing into your brothers in blue over a 13-year-old logbook entry? I'm not accusing anyone, Jack said calmly. I just want the full picture. Richard stood abruptly but immediately grabbed the desk for balance. He looked pale, unstable. I need to check on the transport for Laura's cruiser, make sure it's properly handled. He staggered toward the door. Jack caught his arm. The skin was clammy with sweat. Jesus, Richard, are you okay? Maybe sit down, grab some coffee. I'm fine, Richard said, trying to muster a laugh. It's just this damn diet my wife's got me on. Low blood sugar and stress, bad combo. He straightened his tie with trembling fingers. We need leads, Jack, solid ones, not ghost stories about fellow officers. Jack watched him leave, noting how Richard forgot to lock his office door and nearly walked straight into the glass pane of the bullpen entrance. Before he could process what he'd seen, Marie appeared at his side. My office, now. Once inside, she shut the door behind them and slid a document across the desk. I found this in the archives. Misfiled. It's not supposed to be with the burglary case I was reviewing. Jack took the paper. A witness statement. But something was wrong. No signature. No department stamp. Just typed words. Patrol car. A white van. Spotted on Devil's Slide Road the night Laura disappeared. Where was this? Filed inside a residential burglary report. From 3 months later, totally unrelated. She handed him the actual burglary case. Nothing to do with Laura. Jack's brow furrowed. So why stash this here instead of destroying it? Marie's voice lowered. Maybe someone wanted insurance. A card to play if things ever got dicey. Or maybe they forgot where they hid it. Either way, someone inside the department knew something. Jack scanned the statement. One name jumped out. Belinda Carlson? Wait, I've seen that name. I pulled her official file, Marie said, handing him another folder. Different version, stamped, signed in that one. She says she saw nothing. Jack read it quickly. Same woman. 2 stories. She's listed as still local, Fairmont neighborhood. Marie grabbed her jacket. Let's pay her a visit. Something tells me Miss Carlson has more to share. The Crown Vic smelled like stale coffee and sun-faded vinyl as they pulled out of the station. Jack clutched the statements, phone in his lap. He tried calling the number listed. Come on, pick up. 4 rings. 5. Nothing. Line's dead, he muttered, disconnected or dodging. Address is just 5 minutes. Fairmont's quiet, lots of retirees, mechanics, folks who mind their business. As they turned onto Belinda Street, Jack scanned the house numbers. There, he pointed. 2847. No, 2851. That's it. Marie eased the car to a stop. Jack froze. Wait, that's Richard's department-issue sedan. The yellow house was run down, peeling paint, an overgrown lawn. Richard stood on the porch, his body angled aggressively toward a woman in her early 40s. She looked tense, arms crossed tightly. Marie killed the engine, and they ducked down instinctively as Richard shoved a thick envelope into her hands. His words weren't audible, but his posture spoke volumes. Pressure, intimidation. Dates doesn't look like any official visit, Marie whispered. Richard turned and strode to his car. They stayed low until he passed by, his gaze fixed ahead. Once his taillights disappeared, Belinda retreated into the house, envelope clutched in her trembling hands. Marie glanced at Jack. "Well, this just got interesting." He approached cautiously. The porch was cluttered with tools. Oil stains dotted the cracked concrete. Jack knocked firmly. The door opened before the second knock. Belinda's expression was one of weary annoyance. "What else do you people want?" She stopped short, confused by unfamiliar faces. Jack flashed his badge. "Miss Carlson, I'm Sergeant Jack Monroe. This is Detective Marie Estrada, Pacifica PD." Her eyes widened. Anger shifted into something else. Confusion, then fear. I don't, what's this about?" "We'd like to talk to you about a statement you gave in 1977, Jack said. "May we come in?" "I don't have any business with you." She began to close the door, but Marie stepped forward. "We just saw you speaking with our supervisor, Richard Hensley. We're investigating the same case. It's important." Belinda hesitated. Her eyes dropped to the papers in Jack's hand, the two statements. Her shoulders slumped. "Fine. Come in, but this is the last time I talk about that night." The living room was modest but cared for. Framed family photos lined the mantel, evidence of better years. Belinda sat in a recliner, still clutching the envelope. Jack and Marie took the couch. "I don't know what you expect me to say," she began, voice brittle. "The truth would be a good place to start," Marie said gently. "Two statements. One says you saw nothing, the other." Jack held up the paper. "Mentions a patrol car and a white van near Devil's Slide. We need to know what really happened that night." Belinda stared at the pages, her hands trembling. A silence stretched between them, thick, heavy. Then finally she sighed. "All right. You want the truth? Here it is. But you better be ready for it, because it's ugly." And as she began to speak, the foundation of Laura's disappearance and everything Jack thought he knew was about to be shaken to its core. Belinda let out a bitter, hollow laugh. "The truth? You really want the truth, after 13 years of silence?" She rubbed her face with both hands, her voice quivering with fatigue. "I'm tired. Tired of the lies, the guilt, the weight of this." Jack leaned forward, his tone gentle but firm. "Then tell us. Help us understand. Help us do what's right." She stared down at the envelope in her lap, unmoving. When she finally spoke, it was barely a whisper. "I was driving to work that night, November 18th, 1977. I worked as a park ranger at San Pedro Valley Park, covering the evening shift. Around 8:30 I passed Devil's Slide Road. That's when I saw her. A female officer pulling over a white van. She was alone. Her eyes glazed with memory. I didn't think much of it. Cops pull people over all the time, so I just kept driving." "Can you describe the van?" Marie asked, not missing a beat. "White, older model, maybe early 70s S, no windows in the back, looked like a contractor's van." Belinda shifted in her chair, her discomfort plain. "I got to work, did my rounds. It was a quiet night. I got bored. So, around 10, I called my husband, asked him to swing by. We were young, married, looking for a little excitement. The park's huge, plenty of secluded spots. We found one, and you get the idea." She offered a sheepish shrug. "What happened next?" Jack asked. "We heard something. A noise, like a scream, or maybe a shout, hard to tell with the wind. My husband wanted to check it out. We wandered around for about 15 minutes. Couldn't find anything." "What time was this?" "Close to midnight. Maybe a little earlier." Her voice dipped again. "When I returned to my post around 12:30, I saw that same white van exiting the park. Same one. Had a dent on the right rear panel, shaped like a crescent moon, no mistaking it." Marie and Jack exchanged a look. You're sure it was the same van? Positive. Did you report this? Belinda's eyes filled with moisture. I tried. When I heard the news about the missing officer the next day, I went to the station. I gave my statement. But your supervisor, Hensley, he intercepted it. She pushed the envelope toward them, almost in anger. Take it. I'm done. Jack opened it. Inside, a stack of bills. $3,000, 0 cents. Need you to change your statement. It wasn't a question. Belinda nodded. He nodded. He said, my first version was unclear, too confusing. Said simplifying it would save me trouble. He made it sound like a favor. Marie's tone was softer now, but insistent. That wasn't all, was it? Tears streamed down Belinda's cheeks. A week later, my boss found out about me and my husband meeting in the park. Someone filed an anonymous complaint. I was fired for misconduct. Couldn't find work anywhere. Hensley made sure of that. She gestured at her modest home. I took over my dad's mechanic's shop, scraped by. Every few months, Hensley would drop off another envelope. From my discretion. Marie stood. Miss Carlson, we need you to come to the station. Make an official statement. Help us bring this man down. Belinda recoiled. No. You saw him here. He knows. If I talk, he'll ruin me again. My father's still sick. My husband left. Said I'd sold out my integrity. Hensley could destroy what little I have left. We can protect you. It's not enough, Belinda said. He's got 20 years in the department. Me, I'm nobody. Just a disgraced ranger who got caught being stupid. Who's going to believe me? Jack wanted to argue. He knew what she said was true. Without hard proof, her word meant little against a decorated cop. Find something more, Belinda said. Build a case that doesn't depend on just me. Then I'll testify, but not before. Back in the car, Jack slumped in his seat. She's right. Yes, Marie agreed, starting the engine. But now we know. The white van, the cover-up, it's bigger than Laura. Jack sat upright. Carl Bowen said he was patrolling San Pedro Valley today, the same park Belinda mentioned. That's no coincidence. Marie's eyes sparked. Let's find out what Officer Bowen is really up to. San Pedro Valley Park opened up before them, a vast quilt of green hills, redwood groves, and fog-touched trails that climbed toward the mountains. Marie turned into the parking lot, afternoon sun streaking through eucalyptus trees. There, Jack said. Richard's department-issued sedan sat by the ranger's station. Next to it, Carl Bowen's black and white patrol unit. Marie parked discreetly between two larger vehicles, partly shielded by overgrown branches. Jack grabbed a trail map as they exited. The park was massive, its paths a web of solitude. We can't just wander hoping to. Marie held up a hand. Through the trees, two figures appeared. Richard Hensley sweating through his suit, and Carl Bowen dressed in uniform, carrying a shovel and a heavy gear bag. Richard held a black contractor bag, the kind used for demolition debris. They moved with grim purpose. Jack and Marie crept closer, using the tree line as cover. Told you this was overkill? Carl muttered. Overkill, Richard snapped. They found the goddamn car, Carl. Carl stowed his gear in his cruiser. So what? It's been 13 years. No one cares. Really care now. Blood, bullet casings, DNA. You know how precise that tech is now? Carl scoffed. The body's just bones by now, and it's buried 2 miles up Middle Peak. Who's going to hike that? Richard grunted, shifting the crate with care. Are you stupid? If they match that blood to Laura, we're finished. Carlson might talk. The Rangers might crack. One loose thread. What do we do? Move her, somewhere even you don't know. so you can pass a polygraph if needed. Carl paused. What about that spot? Near our partners. If someone snoops, suspicion lands on them, not us. For the first time, Richard smiled. Now you're thinking, just get it done and don't get seen. Trunk doors slammed, engines roared. Marie and Jack retreated deeper into the woods. Once the coast was clear, they sprinted back to the car. Thank God we didn't have to hike Middle Peak, Marie muttered. That has to be Laura in that bag, Jack said, his voice tight with emotion. 13 years. She's been up there alone. We don't know that, Marie replied, but her voice trembled. They followed Carl along Highway 1. The sun began to dip. Those people, Jack murmured. Business partners. What kind of partners does a dirty cop have worth protecting? At the fork in the road, Richard turned inland, back to Pacifica. Carl continued north. He's really going to do it, Marie said. Move a body, in broad daylight, in a patrol car. They've gotten away with it for 13 years, Jack said. Why stop now? Marie tightened her grip on the wheel. We're heading into Sharp Park. Let's see what he's hiding. Jack leaned forward, eyes narrowing as a familiar silhouette emerged from the industrial skyline. There, the water treatment plant. He's turning in. The Sharp Park water treatment facility sprawled across several acres. Concrete buildings, rusted pipes, giant cylindrical tanks all surrounded by chain-link fencing and weathered warning signs. But Carl's patrol car didn't approach the main gate. Instead, he veered off to a side service road, skirting around the facility's edge. Marie pulled off the road, tucking their vehicle behind a row of storage units partially hidden by brush and industrial debris. From there, they had a clear view through a break in the fence. Carl parked near a thicket of wild grass and shrubs just beyond the facility's rear perimeter. He moved with careful urgency, opening his trunk, retrieving the wooden crate and shovel, and disappearing into the vegetation. He's moving, Jack whispered, already climbing out. They slipped from their car, staying low, using discarded machinery and tangled bushes as cover. Carl hadn't gone far, maybe 30 yards, before he began to dig. The shovel struck the earth in rhythmic, deliberate motions. Years of field work had made him efficient. In less than 10 minutes, he had opened a grave roughly 3 feet deep. Jack's breath caught in his throat as Carl tilted the crate and emptied its contents. The black plastic bag landed with a muted thud. It split. Human remains spilled into the dirt. Bones, tattered fabric, strands of what may have once been hair. Then Carl did something that made Jack's stomach twist in rage. He reached into the grave, picked up a small bone, and slipped it into his pocket. A trophy. He refilled the hole quickly, stomping the soil flat with practiced boots. Then he camouflaged it with leaves and grass until it looked undisturbed to anyone not searching for it. Back at the car, Jack reached for the radio, but Marie stopped him. Oh, wait. Remember what he said to Richard about putting it near those people so suspicion would fall on them. Let's see who those people are. Jack nodded, though every fiber of his being screamed to act. Carl dusted himself off and returned to his cruiser. Instead of exiting the facility, he drove through a secured gate, flashing credentials to a disinterested security guard. He's got access, Marie muttered. This goes deep. They watched as Carl's vehicle stopped outside a run-down generator shed at the far end of the compound. The building was a forgotten relic, rusted walls, broken windows, roof patched with tarps. 5 minutes passed. Then Carl emerged, carrying a rectangular package wrapped in brown paper. Even from this distance, Jack recognized it. Drugs, he said. He's running narcotics. Marie reached for the radio. Dispatch, this is Detective Estrada. Quiet check on Sharp Park Water Treatment Facility. Any reports, complaints, unusual activity? As they waited, more movement drew their attention. Two men stepped out of the shed. Between them, two girls. Teenagers, eyes wide, dresses torn, fear radiating off them like heat. The men shoved the girls toward Carl, who grabbed them with a callous hand and forced them into the back of his patrol car. "That's it," Jack growled. "We're calling it in." Marie didn't hesitate. "Dispatch, 1099, Sharp Park Water Treatment Facility. Officer involved in human trafficking and narcotics. Suspect, Deputy Carl Bowen, San Mateo County. Request immediate tactical response. Secure Supervisor Richard Hensley at Pacifica PD. Repeat, officer involved." "Copy that. Units en route. ETA 5 minutes." Jack and Marie kept watch as Carl talked with the two men. They were relaxed, casual, like this was a routine exchange. Then a white van emerged from deeper within the facility, unmarked, windowless, just like Belinda had described. Carl moved his cruiser in front of it, preparing to escort it. Using a police vehicle as cover, Marie murmured, "They've been doing this for years. Look how smooth it is." Suddenly, sirens cut the air. Multiple units roared up the main road, lights blazing. A SWAT van braked hard at the facility entrance. The guard froze, overwhelmed, and opened the gates. Carl and the van driver bolted. Both vehicles lurched forward toward a side exit. Marie slammed their car into gear. Jack gritted his teeth. The van driver panicked first. He braked hard and surrendered. Carl, ever the actor, pulled over, stepped out of his car with affected calm. "What's going on here?" "I didn't receive any operation orders, just checking on an abandoned shed." Marie was out of the car in seconds, cuffs in hand. "Save it, Carl. We saw everything." "This is a misunderstanding," Carl insisted. "The girls, they were buying drugs, that's all." "Sure," Jack said, stepping close. "Just your average customers, right? After you buried a body in the grass, then swung by for your meth shipment and, what, your monthly bonus in girls?" Carl went pale. I don't know what you're talking about." "Only mistake was yours," Marie said, cuffing him. She read him his rights as she led him away. Meanwhile, SWAT breached the shed. Officers swarmed inside and emerged with more suspects, hard-eyed men who looked like they'd kill without a second thought. The building concealed stairs leading underground. The stench hit them first. Chemicals, fuel, filth. It was a meth lab, a professional one. Massive. Glass tubes, heating plates, barrels of precursor chemicals. And then, the worst room. Dozens of women, some in their teens, all bruised, terrified, all enslaved. A female officer knelt beside them, speaking softly in Spanish, promising safety. One of the older women looked up. "We cleaned, packaged, but the young ones, they were for guests, rewards, new partners, officers." Jack had to leave. He stumbled outside, fighting to keep down the nausea. This wasn't corruption, it was systemic predatory evil, shielded by lawmen. Paramedics arrived. Women were led gently to safety. Evidence teams began processing the scene. "We need to recover the remains," Jack said, "before someone tampers with it." They borrowed another officer and returned to the burial site. The ground was still loose. Using Carl's own shovel, they unearthed the remains with the reverence they deserved. "Laura," Jack whispered, "you're finally coming home." Back at their car, Jack clutched the evidence bag tightly. "We need Belinda Carlson," he said. "Her statement completes this, ties everything together." And for the first time in 13 years, justice no longer felt like a dream. It felt inevitable. Marie was already dialing when Belinda answered. Her voice held a firmness tempered with compassion. "Mr. Carlson, it's Detective Estrada. Carl Bowen is in custody. We have evidence implicating Richard Hensley. Multiple officers are involved. It's time to honor your promise." There was a long silence. Then, "Thank God. Yes, I'll come. We're sending a unit to escort you safely to the station." Marie assured. Jack grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, send a unit to 2855 Fairmont Avenue, Pacifica. Witness protection escort." Back at the treatment facility, the scene resembled a war zone. Patrol cars everywhere, suspects cuffed, paramedics treating victims. They had pulled something monstrous into the light, a criminal empire rooted in trust and protected by those sworn to uphold it. "Let's get back," Marie said. Time to hear Richard Hensley's version of the truth. The Pacifica police station buzzed with controlled chaos. The booking desk processed the detainees with brisk efficiency. Officers filed reports, logged evidence, and coordinated with outside agencies. It was the unraveling of a poisoned institution. Jack and Marie submitted their evidence to the property clerk. Carl's shovel, photographs, the remains. Each item was recorded with solemn care. "Interrogation room 2, a uniform said. "Hensley's already inside. Captain wants you two leading the interview." Behind the one-way glass, Richard Hensley sat, handcuffed. The once proud supervisor now looked small, pale, sweat bleeding through his collar. His eyes darted, trapped. Marie led the interview. Jack took the seat beside her, his silence louder than words. "This interview is being recorded," Marie began, switching on the recorder. "Present are Detective Marie Estrada, Sergeant Jack Monroe, and Supervisor Richard Hensley. You've been read your rights, do you understand?" "This is a mistake," Richard mumbled, but his voice had lost its edge. "What we saw," Marie said calmly, "was you handing a payoff to Belinda Carlson. We saw you and Carl Bowen relocate human remains from San Pedro Valley Park. We followed Bowen to a meth lab where he took drugs and trafficked women. Ms. Carlson gave us a full statement. You paid her to change her testimony." Richard's color drained. Jack added, "We followed you, Richard, from the park to the treatment plant. We saw everything." A long silence followed. Then Richard's breathing hitched, his composure shattered. "Fine, you've got it all anyway. I'm tired. 13 years of pretending it never happened, of waiting for this day." He exhaled, shaky and weak. "My best shot now is a deal. So, here it is. All of it." Marie leaned in, her pen ready. Laura pulled over a van. November 18, 1977. Near the old docks at Moss Landing. Routine stop. She had no idea the van was carrying meth from the water plant to the docks. Jack's fists clenched, but he said nothing. The driver panicked. A low-level courier, probably high, shot her through the window, hit her shoulder. She was bleeding, but alive. "And they called you?" Marie said, not asking. Richard nodded slowly. "I was already involved. Had been for years. They paid well. I told myself I was just looking the other way. Then that night, they called. I sent Carl, told him to handle it before backup arrived." Jack's voice was rough. "Carl killed her." "No." Richard met his eyes. "I did. Carl wanted to call an ambulance, try to save her, but she'd seen too much. She could identify the driver, testify, so I used her service weapon, finished it. That's why the casing matched department issue." The room was silent except for the soft hum of the tape. "We smashed her radio, destroyed the dash cam, buried her in Middle Peak Trail. 2 miles in, the cartel dumped her patrol car at Devil's Slide. The storm that week hit it." "The blood in the trunk?" Marie asked. "And from moving her. We wrapped her, but she bled through." Jack's jaw clenched until it hurt. "The monthly envelopes, not just money." "No," Richard admitted. "Drugs, girls, rewards, entertainment for officers involved. It grew bigger each year." "Names?" Marie demanded. Richard gave a dark laugh. "You want names? You'd empty this station." As the list began, Jack stood, sick to his stomach. "I need air," he muttered. Marie nodded, her face grave. "Take your time. We're not done." Jack stepped into the hallway, lightheaded. The weight of it, 13 years of lies, of wondering, nearly dropped him. "Jack." He looked up. Belinda Carlson sat on a bench outside the interview rooms, hands trembling in her lap. "Miss Carlson." He joined her. "I gave my statement," she said. "Told them everything, Richard's threats, the bribes, all of it." She turned, eyes glossy. "I'm sorry. For what happened to Laura. To you. I should have spoken up years ago. I know what I did was wrong." Jack studied her. The guilt, the regret. It was real. "You were coerced, threatened. That matters. The prosecutor will consider that. But you came forward. When it counted, that's what I'll remember." Her eyes widened slightly. "You think that'll matter?" "Already does. Laura can rest now. Because of you." They embraced briefly, two people bound by tragedy finding a moment of grace. "Sergeant Monroe?" A forensic tech appeared. "We need you in evidence to ID something." Jack nodded and followed him down the hall. The evidence room buzzed with quiet purpose. The tech led him to a table. The bones had been laid out carefully. "We'll send them to the state lab for DNA," the tech said. "But we found this with the remains." He held up a small evidence bag. Inside was a necklace, tarnished but unmistakable, a platinum heart pendant, Laura's. Jack reached for the bag with trembling hands. Through the plastic, he traced the contours, turned it over. "It is grayed on the back. Jack and Laura, forever." The tears came freely. 13 years of silent grief poured out there, in the sterile evidence room. This made it real. Not the bones, not the reports. This, the pendant she'd worn daily, resting against her skin, now in his hand. She hadn't left. She'd been taken, stolen. The tech stepped back, giving him space. Jack wiped his eyes, then noticed something on the table, a small bone tagged separately. "We found that in Carl Bowen's pocket," the tech explained. "A finger, a trophy." Jack turned away. The rage would come later. For now there was only sorrow. And the weight of truth finally found? "Sick bastards," Jack muttered under his breath. The words felt hollow in the face of what he had just witnessed. These were men who had worn the badge, taken the oath, promised to serve and protect, and yet they had twisted their authority into something dark, something unspeakable. Jack looked down at the evidence bag in his hand, the one holding Laura's remains. "Finally found you," he whispered. "You can rest now." The forensic tech beside him, visibly moved, nodded with quiet reverence. "What you did today, Sergeant, you saved those women. They're at Pacifica General now, getting help, getting their lives back." Jack nodded slowly, drawing strength from that truth. Laura was gone, but others had been saved. Others could live because today, someone chose not to look away. He confirmed the chain of custody for the DNA testing and stepped back into the corridor. Marie was emerging from the interrogation room, her face etched with exhaustion and quiet victory. "He gave us everything," she said. "Names, routes, contacts. This is going to tear the department apart." "Good," Jack said without hesitation. "It needs to be torn apart and rebuilt. Right." They stood side by side, watching as suspect after suspect was processed. Some familiar faces, others not. Internal affairs agents now walked the halls of the station, files in hand, questions sharp. The wheels of justice were finally moving. "This won't be over quickly," Marie said. "Trials, investigations. Some of the people Richer named, we've worked with them for years." "Then let it all burn," Jack replied. "The department we thought we knew is gone. It should be." Marie checked her watch. The victims from the facility, we need to speak with them, document their statements. But more than that, we need to show them someone cares, that this isn't just another case file. Jack nodded. Let's go. As they made their way to the booking office, Jack felt the full weight of what had transpired. Evil hadn't hidden in shadows. It had sat beside them, worn uniforms beside them, sworn the same oath. And it had thrived because no one had dared to challenge it. Laura had died for doing her job, for stopping the wrong vehicle at the wrong time, for refusing to look away. But now, the truth, like her patrol car, had surfaced, and not just because of chance, because of storms. Storms of conscience, of courage, of justice. Belinda had spoken up. Marie had refused to be intimidated. Jack had refused to quit. The badge had to mean something, again. And for Laura, for the women who'd been rescued, for the town that placed its trust in them, Jack and Marie would make sure it did.